Hello, welcome back to the Art of Living Well podcast. Marnie and I are here today to do a solo episode. But, one thing we were just chatting about before we hit record was how nice September has been in Minnesota. I mean, I think the average high it's probably like 5 degrees higher, is what I've heard. And it's been sunny and blue skies. And we both actually got out on the lake yesterday. For us, it was just like an impromptu go out for an hour and a half, do a little bit of surfing because we had some free time. And it's just so nice. Like you just want to take advantage of being outside.
It's been
So,
hot. I mean,
yes.
it's not even like nice. It's been like 85
Mhm.
degrees, which is so crazy for September. I mean, today's September 30th. So yesterday was
Yeah.
September 29th. I mean, the leaves are not even like changing yet, which is rare,
Mhm.
right? Isn't
I
it usually
know.
like around this time that like
Well,
sometimes I remember when my kids were little, we'd be going to apple orchards and like doing that kind of stuff at this time of year. It just feels early.
it
And
is. Well,
yesterday, when I saw how gorgeous it was, I was like, I need to get on a paddleboard. Like, this is amazing. And there were not a lot of boats on the lake where at the part of the lake where I was. And so it was so calm. It was my calmest paddle the whole summer. And I just was so happy to be out there.
I know, wasn't it? It's funny. We saw a little pop of red, I think when we were driving out there. So lots of green on the trees, and then there was a pop of red. So they're starting to change, but you're right. It's been so warm. And I think September has honestly been better weather than even August because it hasn't been raining,
Yes.
which,
And the bees are not around in full force the way they were in August. At least I
yeah.
haven't seen any on my deck, and sometimes they get crazy.
Yeah. So we're just enjoying this beautiful weather. And even today, it's so nice. It just makes me want to get outside even more every single
Hmm.
day. And the one thing I did do this weekend, which we hadn't done in a while, is I went to our old, stomping grounds for training and went to Highlands. And it was just felt good to be outside there too, just on that hill and with all those people. So yeah,
I
just
was a little
enjoying these.
jealous, I'm not going to lie. I listened to my body and went to my outdoor yoga class, which I also love so much. It's like my favorite
Yes.
way to spend my Saturday, but I am itching to get back to Highland, and I'm running in the Twin Cities 10 mile this weekend. And
Yeah.
once that's behind me, which I am going to enjoy every minute of it, then I feel like I can get back to Highland and start doing the hills again. I don't want to overdo my legs this
No.
week.
Well, it's funny you say you're jealous of me because I was jealous. I really wanted to go to that yoga class, but my son had hockey tryouts and I literally had a window and it would just work to go to Highlands because it was close. Like, so yeah,
I do
it's all
miss
good.
that though.
Yeah. No, it felt really good to be back there. So anyway, today we want to chat with you just about kind of like tuning into yourself, setting boundaries, creating healthy boundaries, and how when you're overly a people pleaser and not setting boundaries, how that can really impact your health and how much joy you're experiencing. Because we see this quite a bit, both within our own lives and also with our friends and our clients. And
And our kids and our
we've
all
never
over,
dove in
right?
and like talked about this as a full episode. So here we go.
So I'm just like thinking about people pleasing and where that even comes from, right? And why do people prioritize other people's needs and wants over themselves?
Mhm.
And this doesn't mean you're selfish, right?
No.
But I feel like when you tune into yourself and you do what you need, the ripple is a good ripple
Yes.
out into the world because you feel content, you feel happy, and the people
Mhm.
around you then feel happy and they see that you're following your own heart, right?
And that's the tricky part. And I think we see this more with women too. We're just like these natural caretakers. So we feel like we always need to be taking care of others, but it starts at a very, very early age. And probably some of that is the behavior that's modeled by our parents or by those other people that are of influence in our lives. But you're right. I think what we forget, and I think it happens even like in our 40s and 50s and beyond, is that we really need to take care of ourselves and prioritize what we need, what makes us feel good, because there'll be a ripple effect on everyone else. So don't consider, saying no to a social commitment or, a social invitation selfish. You're going to be helping everyone, including yourself.
And I think people feel the need to be busy all the time, right? Like there's a there's a badge of honor in saying, sorry, I'm busy, or I'm booked out for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
But what is that doing to you? Like if that's filling your cup and you feel amazing by being super busy, that's great. Like
Right.
we just want you to tune in to you. But if you feel overwhelmed, and this happens to me sometimes, it's like there are lots of people I want to see and things I want to do. And that's why I'll say, like, oh, well, let's just book out, whatever. But then when I look at the calendar and there's no time for spontaneity or for, a quick trip to Afton to enjoy the whole day
Yeah.
hiking and looking at the leaves or whatever it is, that makes me feel sad inside. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Like,
Yeah.
I want to have open time where it's not planned and scheduled
Mhm.
and then that tells me that I need to set better boundaries around what I'm planning in advance and what
Yes.
I'm committing to.
And you touched on something like, where does this come from? Like, where does this need to please everyone else and say yes to everyone else come from? And, I think sometimes in order to kind of figure out and ask yourself that question, like spending quiet time, completely undistracted, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's meditating, but not necessarily. You could just sit outside and like think about like your ideal day. Think about like what would really fill you up and bring you joy that you could do on a regular basis and focus on that feeling and the priorities and what you want out of your life and what you want out of it long term. And are you doing things on a regular basis that will give you that goal, that vision that will help you get there? And if you're not, then it's like, okay, well, where can I draw the line and set the boundaries? And we'll dive in a little bit and just kind of get practical in a few minutes as far as how you do that. But I think you need to sit still and understand what really fills you up, what truly brings you joy, what makes you happy. And you may find it's doing a hell of a lot less than what you've been doing. Because just because you're busy, like Marnie said, and have a full social calendar or a full, commitments at work, whatever it is, doesn't mean that that's making you happy.
Right. And also thinking about just people pleasing. And sometimes I think about my relationship with my parents, and I love my parents so much. And I respect my parents and I want to honor my parents, right? Because they're my parents. But sometimes I do things that I really don't want to do because I'm trying to please my parents. And I'm a 51-year-old woman. And at what point does that end? And it's just an interesting thing. And I've been doing a lot of thought about this and trying to figure out how I can be respectful and honor them and still say no when I feel like I need to say no and set those boundaries.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we're worried about that. But like if you had a conversation with your parents and explained why you feel a certain way and what you need, I think most people, they may feel a little bit disappointed at first, but they will understand and respect your decision. But I think part of it is how we communicate. And
Hmm.
it's not just saying no, and it's not just responding in a text message. It's actually like picking up the phone and having a conversation with someone, which is a rarity these days.
Right, you're absolutely right. And I do think that when a person or even me or whoever can really sit down and explain why, if it's something that a person that's important to you, explain why you need to set these boundaries for your own mental health.
Yes. And we're not talking about saying no to someone's birthday celebration or dinner. These are the things that are like impacting your day-to-day life for the most part, right? Whether it's your kids, like Marnie, you and I were talking about earlier, our kids need us. And sometimes they need us more when they're older. And sometimes that impacts our ability to get a good night's sleep. I mean, the number of times sometimes that I'm in bed early before my kids, because I know I need sleep and I'm not going to function well without it,
Yep.
you know?
And it's like we want to say yes to our kids all the time, right? We want to be their support, their guides, their cheerleaders, everything. Like I
Yeah.
want to do everything for my kids, but I also need to take care of myself. So when my daughter is asking me at 11 o'clock at night to help her with something, my answer is usually my brain is not
Mm.
fresh right now. Like I can't help you right now. I would be more than happy to help you at
Right.
a different time. If we can set some time during the day, I
Yeah.
would love to do that. Um, but this is not a good time for me right now. And I think that's okay. And just thinking about kids and setting boundaries, even if you're out to dinner for a few hours with some girlfriends or your husband or your spouse or significant other, whoever you're out with.
Yeah.
And if your kids are calling you, it is okay to say, is this an emergency? No.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
well, I'm having some grown-up time right now, and I will
Yeah.
I will be home in 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is, and I will be fully present with you. But let me be present with the people I'm with right now. I
Mhm.
think that's okay. And I
That
think
is
that's
such a good
modeling
point.
good behavior for your children so that they can be present when they're off with their friends or whatever.
Mhm. Because the number of friends, adults, acquaintances that you see attached to their phone when you're out, and if it's something critical like you're waiting in a important call, then just
For
say that. So I'm
sure.
I'm not talking about that.
Me either.
But there is like this attachment, like you feel it's almost like we feel important because we're needed. And then
Yes.
that's like you got to dig deep because something's going back probably to your childhood as far as why you feel that way and why you can't just get away because you're not being present with the people you're with. And then what I do see, even with my kids, is sometimes they're texting me and I'm like, aren't you out with your friends? Aren't you wherever? Why are you texting me? I don't even want you to text me because I want you to
Right.
enjoy and be present. And I just think modeling this behavior is so important for adults because we easily get sucked into our phones too. And it's really
Yes.
freeing when you just take a break and you're not on your phone and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. You know, I left the house on a walk and I didn't bring my phone. Oh, wow. Like,
So that's what I've been trying to do when I'm on a walk alone, I usually do bring my phone because I'm catching up with various people or whatever. But
yeah,
when I'm on a walk with somebody else, I don't bring my phone because I want to focus on the person I'm with.
yeah,
And if I'm out to dinner with friends or family, I am keeping my phone in my purse and I am not
yes,
taking it out because it's going to distract me. Like it absolutely will. If it comes out of the bag, it's a distraction. And I know that. And I have, set my watch, my Apple Watch, so that I'm not getting those notifications on my watch because I don't want to be distracted by
mhm,
texts and emails and phone calls. If it's an
right,
emergency, different story.
right. Yeah, no, 100%. And even just thinking about your phone, and I think what I've seen from a lot of clients are kind of taking a step back from being on their phone too much and social media. It may mean taking a little break from social media and even removing the apps from your phone or setting times a day that you're going to allow yourself to go on. Because I think a lot of this, the setting boundaries also kind of feeds into comparison and how we compare ourselves to others. And that doesn't make us feel good. And then we think we need to be doing things that maybe don't even bring us joy or make us, happy at all, but someone else is doing it. And so taking a break from social media, taking a break from your phone, not bringing your phone with you, when you're with others, there's great little tips that you could try and to implement and see how you feel and see how that impacts your overall happiness and health and well-being. Because ultimately, that's what this comes back to.
Right. And all studies point to social media does not lead to health and happiness, right?
Sorry, as much as, I'm sure it's fun to scroll TikTok and laugh. And, sometimes there are
And it is
fun
fun. I mean,
things, but, because ultimately what we hear from so many people is, oh, well, I don't have time to do certain things, right? Time seems to be the factor, whether it's going on a walk, whether it's moving throughout the day, whether it's trying to sauna or meditate or whatever it is, go to the grocery store, cook food, any healthy habit, you name it out there. Time tends to be a barrier for most people.
yes.
But if we think about those things that we're doing that aren't filling us up, that we could maybe politely decline invitations or stop scrolling on your phone, you will probably find that you will have a little bit more time to at least pick up one of these new habits. And then that habit can have a ripple effect on many areas of your life, whether it's just getting more sleep, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel more energized the next day and you're in a better mood. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and I just going back to social media for a second, one thing that I've been doing that I actually think is helpful because I am on social media, right? Like we are both people that feel like we need to have some presence on social media
Yeah.
just from a work perspective.
Mhm.
But I have started to really weed out accounts where if I feel like I'm doing any kind of comparison, I
Yeah.
just take them off.
Yeah.
And I've been adding accounts that inspire and motivate me. A lot of them are just inspiring messages or people that I'm like inspired by. I don't feel any like competition or like I need to be like this person or anything like that.
Right.
And I find that my social media feed is really inspiring. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm energized.
And
So
that's what it should be.
yeah, like I don't want to see necessarily what everybody else is doing. I just want to feel inspired.
Yes, 100%. Well, it's funny because after 29, I kept getting a bunch of like hiking accounts.
Yes,
And I
yes,
could keep forwarding them to you because it's all about like, and they're just funny, but they're inspiring. It's all about like, I like to hike all day and eat snacks. And I don't know, it's just like goofy things.
but it's
And that
fun.
it's
It's
fun.
not,
And
yes.
it's usually a picture of the mountain somewhere. So that makes me happy looking at it. And yeah,
So it can be used in a positive way, I guess is
right.
the point.
Yes.
Another thing I just want to bring up is decision fatigue. Because I do think, people pleasers, I've been in situations where people are like, well, I don't care or whatever. And I always wondered, well, do you really not care?
Right.
Or are you just not sharing what you want? And sometimes you might not care, and that's totally cool. Like
Right.
there are going to be the people that care and the people that don't care. But are you going against what you truly want just to like please other people, go with the flow? I think there's a fine line. And I think that sometimes a person needs to be firm in a decision.
Mhm.
And, red or blue, just pick red or
Yeah.
blue. Like, what do you like better?
Right.
You know,
Right.
have an opinion.
Yes. And I think like when you're younger, we were talking about this with our kids, sometimes that's just you want everyone to like you when you're younger. But I also think it requires you to like sit still a bit and figure out what it is that you like. Cause sometimes I think people don't know and they're so used to people pleasing and just always going with what everyone else wants to do that they actually can't even answer that question, red or blue, for themselves right now.
Right.
Literally.
And
Yeah.
not everyone is going to like you. And this took
And that's
me a
okay.
long time to figure out because I was one of those people that I wanted everyone to like me.
Of course.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Not everyone is going to like me. And I'm okay with that at this point in my life. But, you know, I hope our teenagers can learn that at a younger age.
Yes, I agree. And one thing that I've seen quite a bit with clients is trying to set boundaries when they're like developing new habits and then they're maybe going to be out of town. This applies to anyone, but say you go out of town for work and you're like, oh, but I know I have these work dinners I need to go. And I just don't think it's possible that I'm going to be able to get a workout in all week. I mean, think about that. Like you're out of town. So if you're a parent, you don't have kids and all those responsibilities. Yes, you're busy with work, but do you need to stay out till 10, 11 o'clock? Could you go back a little earlier so that you could wake up in the morning? Could you take a break in the middle of the day during lunch and go on a quick 10-minute walk around the hotel, wherever you are? Could you pack some snacks with you so that you're not only eating the cookies that are available mid-afternoon when you're hungry? Like little things like that. And don't apologize. I think part of this is like being unapologetic about your choices in a nice, respectful way. And like we said,
Mm-hmm.
communicating it because not you're like you Marnie said, you're not going to make everyone happy. You may disappoint someone, but who's going to feel better in the morning if you stuck to the time that you wanted to go to bed and woke up and had your quiet time or your workout, whatever it is? That's just going to like make your entire rest of your day and
Well,
not
and it
deplete you.
yes. And it makes me think of when we went to a conference last year,
Yeah.
last October, which we're going to be doing again in a few weeks.
Right.
And we got up, it was dark outside.
Yeah.
We got up early in the morning and we took a power walk because that's
Yeah.
all you do with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Just power walk.
Unless
But
it's late at night after dinner, then yeah.
we took a power walk, but we were going to be sitting in a conference the entire day. And this is
Yeah.
like a health and wellness conference, right?
Right.
Which is
Right.
kind of funny. And they did get us up a little bit, but not a ton.
Yeah.
But we made the time. And,
Mhm.
we were tired and not like super excited about getting up so early when it was going to be dark out, but we felt better for it. And if you are traveling, maybe you can get someone to join you because
Yeah.
when you have that accountability, it makes it a little easier. But whether or not you have the accountability or the person that joins you, stick to what you want to do and what's good for you. If you're working so hard at home to eat well and sleep well and move your body, you don't need to let all of that go out the window because you're on a work trip or because, your coworkers expect you to be going to happy hours and out partying late at night.
Right.
Like you are allowed to set boundaries around that.
Yes. And it doesn't, they may expect something of you because that's what you did last year. Or that's what you normally do. It's okay. Be happy and content with your decisions. And you may find that people will join you and they're like, oh, she's not going to drink and stay up all night, with us. Maybe I won't either. So you may actually be a very positive role model for others in the process.
Don't be afraid to talk to yourself and tell yourself what you need and think about, these statements that you could say for yourself, like my worth isn't determined by the opinions of others or whatever statement you want to tell yourself, or, I feel strong and I want to get up early in the morning and move my body.
Yep. And I do think that the affirmations, the positive affirmations, and even using Post-it notes and putting them in your mirror and saying them in the morning and at night, if no other time, you could say it any time of day, can be really helpful because it's all about, your thoughts becoming your reality and just kind of starting to rewire some of those old programs and beliefs, the negative self-talk that's running through your head. And yeah, just reframing those thoughts that you have and making them as if they're already happening. So that's another tip I find to be pretty powerful.
Yes, I think we both found after we did our 29029, like just doing that for so many days, months, actually, it made a huge impact.
Yes.
I think as we wrap this up, a message that I think is super important is to really focus on your own values and your own standards. Like Stephanie mentioned earlier, really tuning into what you want and need. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. But try and give yourself some space and time to figure it out.
Yes. And we'd love for you guys to come on our show and do a health transformation audit where we will spend just 15 minutes. So it's super fast. It can be 100% anonymous. Help you visualize, like, what are your priorities? What is your ideal day? And you'll walk away with some tangible action steps. But sometimes people don't even actually take the time to figure it out. What is it that they want? How do they want to feel? What's their goal for 5, 10, 15 years from now? And how you can start taking action today, little by little, very small baby steps. Regardless of how busy you are, we're all busy. You can find time to do one small thing today that will help get you towards your ultimate goal. So sign up on our website. We'll put the link in the show notes. Email us. And we'd love for you to come on our show. We've done quite a few of these episodes, so you can always search for health transformation audit if you want to just get a feel for what that would entail.
And we wish you a wonderful first week in October. October is our 5-year anniversary month.
Yay!
So that's exciting. You'll hear more about that later. And yeah, just have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone.